Pleasure to welcome to the show. It's Manhatthan starting goalie, Brendan Krebs. Brendan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. This is going to be tons of fun. Can't wait to chat goalie with you for the next 45 minutes or so. But before we, go into your story, I'd love to hear where it all began. Do you remember the first time you jumped into goal?
Yeah, so probably seventh grade, we were playing. I was on the Long Island Express for my club team, and we were playing in a winter league game. And we had two goalies on the team at the time. One kid was sick, and I think our other goalie was hurt. And for my rec league team, which was like our local PLL team, I'd play goalie sometimes in the second half. If we were up by a lot, my buddy and I would switch. So I mean, I was probably the only kid on the team with some goalie experience. So I offered to play in the game, and I thought I played all right. I didn't think it was anything crazy, but after the game, a bunch of parents came up to me and they were like, "Oh, great job, good job," and I didn't really think anything of it. And then I kind of kept playing the rest of the winter a little bit, and then that spring, and then I just decided that summer to just keep playing goalie. So seventh grade and then eighth grade, I played goalie full time, and then high school obviously played goalie. So that's kind of how I made the switch.
Yeah,
Pretty
what was
later
it?
on.
What was it about the position that hooked you?
I don't know. Obviously, the being your first real game against decent shooters, being an indoor game is kind of, not that great. But I feel like kind of being sort of on an island by yourself. I don't know. I feel like most would say that it's kind of intimidating or they wouldn't want to be doing that. But I don't know. It's kind of something that I enjoy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Me too. It's always funny too, the parents who maybe they don't understand lacrosse, or maybe they do, but they don't understand it as well as we do. After the game, they always come up to you and be like, "Oh man, you made some great saves out there," just because lacrosse goalie and making saves to them is just this magical thing. I feel you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you think you had a really great game and it actually wasn't that great, or sometimes you think you didn't play that well and a lot of other people think you played really well. So
yeah, unfortunately for me, it was more the latter. I didn't play well, and the parents always thought I played well. But like I said, I think they were just fascinated with saves. So going back, when you're starting out, a lot of goalies, including myself, have to deal with the fear of the shot, right? You've got that flinch, you've got that sort of hitch in your your save movement. And I'm curious if you went through that as well.
Yeah, I'd say I definitely went through that. I'd say I was pretty fortunate. I feel like I wasn't really getting hit a lot. I was actually making saves with my stick, which was definitely something that, not a lot of younger goalies are fortunate with, because I feel like, you're new to the position. You're kind of just trying to get behind the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously now, I get hit with the ball. I don't really think about it. I'm used to it at this point, but yeah, there was probably a little bit of trying to get over it, but I didn't really think it was anything too crazy.
Yeah. And how did you go about, you're on Long Island, so, lacrosse hotbed.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine, there's great coaches. But how did you at that young age go about learning how to make saves?
Yeah, so I think you might have had him on before, but Tim O'Meara and Breakout Goaltending on Long Island. So right when I started that in seventh grade, I think we got a recommendation from maybe a club coach or somebody else, but they obviously, I feel like, have a big of the goalie market on Long Island. They do an amazing job. Tim does such a good job. And I feel like, going there every other Sunday or whatever it was, my dad would drop me off, just for an hour and a half, just focusing on the little things, footwork, getting behind the ball, just my stance, playing the arc. I feel like that just really built my foundation. And also going through, I went with to Tim and Breakout all the way through from seventh grade through high school. And I had a big growth spurt, probably sophomore, junior year of high school. I was freshman year, I was probably 5'8". When I graduated, I was probably 6'2" or something. So, my goalie play definitely changed a lot during high school, and Tim helped me out with that, kind of playing the arc a little bit differently, or the way I set up in my stance. But yeah, I'd probably give a credit to Tim and the Breakout guys for, really building my foundation.
Love it. Huge shout out, Breakout Goaltending. They presented at one of the goalie summits I did. They're going to present at this upcoming one in a couple weeks. They're awesome. They're awesome. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Um, you know, you go through a growth spurt, which must be nice. I peaked at 5'8", so I never got that growth spurt to 6'2" that I was hoping for. But but how exactly did that change your goalie game? Right, because that's
Yeah.
very different. That's very different, right?
Yeah. I feel like I started to play a little bit wider. Definitely helped cover up more of the net down low, but I feel like it kind of affected me because the more wider I'd play, the more I'd kind of get stuck with stepping to the ball. So I think I actually reverted back to, just playing a little bit more shoulder width or a little bit outside shoulder width. And also kind of just like, I'd obviously have to have my hands up higher when I was shorter, but, kind of keeping my hands like down a little bit more and inside, I think is a little bit more comfortable for me. And that's something that I had to change.
Yeah. When you said you get stuck on the steps, what exactly does that mean? Like you're not exploding to the shot. You're just
Yeah.
kind of reaching with your hands.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, your feet would be further apart. It's kind of harder to, really get that first step towards the ball and then obviously bring the gather with it. I feel like you kind of get a little bit stuck when your feet are out wider. You kind of just start to flop or lunge at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Really interesting. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have success with that wide
Definitely.
base.
Yeah. I couldn't get it down.
Yeah, no. And I would say that you have to have the height to do it. Like there's no way I could do the wide base because I just don't take up that much goal. But if you're, 6'2", 6'3", DeLuca's like 6'9" or 6'6", right? Like, if you're that wide, then yeah, I mean, you could still get down there and be athletic, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like butterfly goalies. I feel like that's like the main style in hockey right now. A lot of good guys in the NHL right now are taller, like 6'4", because when you're down, you got to still cover most of the net, even if you're like down in butterfly. So I feel like you definitely have to be taller if you're trying to play wide like that.
Yeah. I think if we talk about like the future of the position, I think the best goalies are going to end up being really tall because like you look at someone like Blaze and like the way he makes saves sometimes when like people are coming around from X is like he'll get down to like a knee and then still be tall enough to cover the top corner with his stick, right? So
he's so good at blocking it.
So good at
I feel like that's his main style. Yeah, he plays his angles so well.
Yep. Who, when we think about pro goalies or like some college guys that you learned from, who comes to mind for you?
Probably when I just started playing, Drew Adams just lighting it up for the Lizards. I feel like that was somebody who I looked at. And then obviously working with Coach Runkel, not a pro goalie, or who he was for a little bit, but Coach Runkel was unreal in college. And then probably number one would have to be Dylan Ward.
Interesting. Why Dylan Ward?
I feel like we have the same build, taller guy. And just like, I forgot what year it was. I obviously always want the US to win, but when Canada beat US in those World Lacrosse Championships, he just stood on his head. And, looking at a guy who didn't really go to a Big Ten or ACC school, and now who lights it up in the PLL and for the Mammoth in the NLL, and obviously for Team Canada is something that's really cool to see.
Yeah, that is cool to see. Bellarmine, I think he went to, yeah. And the other two goalies, Drew Adams just announced his retirement the other day, finishing with most saves in pro lacrosse history. That's a good one to base it off of. And I mean, those are kind of like exactly your style, right? Like tall. Drew Adams is slender. I mean, Runk's a little more heavy set, but tall lefties. And that's you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Love it. And Dylan Ward's an awesome guy. I had him on the podcast episode 3, which is like absurd. I'm like just starting this podcast, trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, yeah, Dylan Ward's in. All right. We're on to something here. Let's go. Go. Good start. Very cool. So, you learn from Breakout Goaltending. They teach you kind of like stance, positioning, just working on the footwork, the basics. And then you get to high school, and you went to Chaminade. Yeah. How was your high school lacrosse journey?
High school lacrosse I mean, you're obviously going to a top program in the country. So, I mean, every day in practice, you're playing with some of the best kids in the country. And freshman, sophomore year, I had the opportunity to play. We obviously, nobody really gets moved up to varsity until junior or senior year. So our freshman and JV teams are always stacked. So I feel like, a lot of guys get the opportunity to play because we'll always run up the score, except if we're playing like St. Anthony's or something. But my junior year and senior year, I unfortunately didn't start either year. Both guys in front of me were my junior year. Kid was going to Notre Dame. My senior year, there was a kid younger than me who ended up going to Duke. But I still took the opportunity to get better every day at practice. Like I said before, you're going up against some of the best kids in the country. So I just kept my head down and tried to get better every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Liam Entenman was the goalie ahead of you or no?
No, Liam's 2 years younger than me.
Got
The
it.
kid in front of me was Jack Zulo, who ended up going to Notre Dame.
Got it.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that position, about that scenario, because, for a lot of goalies, they might find themselves in that position where they are the backup, right?
Yeah.
How did you mentally, how did you tackle that? It's a challenge, right? It's a challenge to continue to show up, be the best teammate you can, get better, all the while knowing that hey, I'm good enough to play pretty much anywhere else except this powerhouse,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a lot of case, not just with goalies. Obviously, a lot of other kids at Chaminade. There are so many kids on the team that could play elsewhere and start and run up and down the field with anybody else. But I don't know, just kind of like having confidence in yourself and trusting yourself. I feel like is big because I knew I was good enough to go out and play. Like that was the thing. I knew it. I obviously didn't get the opportunity to do that, but I feel like trusting in yourself and just like trying to just get better every day, I feel like helped me, and just keeping my head down. I mean, I didn't really make anything of it. I knew I could play at the next level. So I feel like that's something that I looked towards. And that's something that helped me.
Yeah. And so I imagine then, when we start to talk about lacrosse and playing at the next level, like your club team, where you got like a lot of your tape and was where you were able to demonstrate, here's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. I think the club team I played for was pretty good. And then I just ended up going to, prospect days or different sort of, obviously our club team went to tournaments or going to like recruiting events was the biggest thing for me.
Did you ever have this feeling where, you have those prospect days or showcase days or what have you? Did you ever have this feeling like, I'm not the starter. I really have to play well, right? In these showcase days, I really have to prove who I am. Did you ever feel that added pressure for those type of events?
Yeah, I'd probably say that. Definitely the bigger events. I think Blue Chip Jake Reed was a big one when I was in high school. There are obviously always 100 coaches on the sideline for that. But I mean, my JV game when we played St. Anthony's at home, there was the same amount of coaches on the driveway, which I feel like not a lot of high schools get. So I mean, I wasn't unfamiliar with that, but yeah, I feel like that's something that was in the back of my mind. I don't really know if I thought about it a lot, but it was definitely there.
And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that pressure?
I mean, I wouldn't call it pressure. It's kind of just something that you're thinking about, because I feel like other coaches know, obviously, because they see, who's playing in those games. But I feel like just, playing your best is all you could do. I think just having that pressure held over yourself, I feel like just doesn't really do anything. I feel like you can't really hold that over yourself.
Yeah. Love it. So how did the college recruiting process work for you?
I had a couple of schools I was looking at later on junior, senior year, but nothing really ended up working out. But I ended up going to the Manhatthan prospect camp a couple times and sending Coach Kelleher an email before. And I played decently well at a couple of them. And Coach Kelleher and Coach Oderna saw me at a couple other events this summer before my senior year. And I ended up getting an offer after one of the prospect camps summer before my senior year.
Nice. Awesome. What would you say to young goalies going through that recruiting process? What tips or advice would you give them?
Um, I mean, I feel like no matter where you're at or who you're playing with, like I said before, you're kind of on an island. I feel like you just have to like do your best every time. But with recruiting, my recruiting process was definitely a lot different than the other kids at my high school, because when I was in high school, I had friends that were committing, like before we even got to high school, or first semester freshman year. So it was definitely different for me. I'd probably say to obviously reach out to coaches, send your video, with your highlights or whatever, talk about who you are as a person, try and get to know the coach. I feel like getting to know what the program is all about, and getting to know what the guys on the team are like is definitely big for finding out where you're going to end up for those next 4 years.
Yeah, that's huge, right? That's huge. I mean, if you don't get along with the coach or you just don't vibe with obviously maybe you're not going to get along with all the team members, but like the bulk of, how they do their work, like it's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah.
What was it about Manhatthan that you like so much?
I mean, Coach Kelleher really preached, kind of rebuilding the program. Because I think when I was there my freshman year, it might have been his third year there. And Manhattan's only won the MAC one time in 2002. And before we hosted the MAC tournament last year, I think they were in the tournament less than a handful of times between 2002 and last year. So, I mean, kind of helping rebuild the program was something that was, definitely something that I thought that was, really cool and something to be a part of, and helping build that culture is something that I've, really tried to help out with. And I think it's been working out so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. When you think about like lessons of building a positive culture,
Mhm.
what comes to mind, or what types of things do you try to instill into your teammates?
I mean, it all starts with the people. I think everybody that Coach Kelleher and Coach O'Derna have helped bring in, we're all the same. I feel like we're all a bunch of under-recruited guys with a chip on our shoulder.
Mm,
Nothing's handed to us. So I feel like all of us know that we have to work for it. Just being humble, thankful for the opportunity to be there is something that I definitely preach to the guys. And I think it's something that they all agree with. And I feel like we try and instill that every day.
that's awesome. Yeah, that common bond is powerful. But then too, if it's like a chip on the shoulder,
Yeah.
that's so powerful. Like so many elite athletes have that story of like young in there. Michael Jordan cut from his high school team, right? Like where they just carry this chip on their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jordan might be the extreme case. He carries a chip on his shoulder if someone doesn't say hello, but you know what I mean? Like they have
Yeah.
that, they have that.
Yeah.
Did you watch that documentary with him?
Yeah. He kind of like obviously makes it up sometimes,
Right.
or over exaggerates it, but that gets him going.
Yeah.
I think that's not something that I do, but I definitely do get where he's coming from.
Yeah, for sure. That's really powerful. At what point did you start working with Coach Runk? Is that like in college, or is that?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough coming in my freshman year. Was also Coach Runkel's first year at Manhattan. So my freshman and sophomore year, Coach Runkel was our goalie coach, and that was something that helped me immensely. Just the way that he looks at the game and he analyzes the position, I feel like is so different from anybody else. He's probably one of the greatest goalie coaches in the country, in the world, and one of the best coaches that I've ever worked with.
I'd 100% agree with that. He presented at the last goalie summit, and it's just like the way it was amazing presentation, like just the
Mhm.
way that he thought about this position and some of the things that he was saying. I'd
Yeah,
never heard before. I never heard
yeah,
before, and like you hear it, but it was just so obvious. Like yes, that's awesome.
yeah.
So I don't know what were some lessons that he taught you that really stick out?
He talks a lot about being multiple. And that's something I mentioned to you earlier. I kind of like taking things from different people's games, and using it in my own game. like during winter break or during the fall in practice or over the summer, kind of doing something a little different, taking something from somebody else. Like you saw this past season, I think Dylan Ward was really playing like he was playing box goalie, coming out super high, which is pretty cool to see. So, trying something like that out, or, playing a little bit more flat like I play, or taking away somebody's in their stance or the way they hold their hands, I feel like is something that I've gotten from him. And then also just working on the little things. I feel like the little things have helped me so much, just my footwork, going through like stepping drills, or just like hand-eye coordination drills, so hand-eye technique, I feel like is something that's helped so much. I feel like he's big on that. I feel like those things have definitely helped me.
Yeah. I love it. I'll send you this video that he did, the presentation that he did. It was on breaking a slump, on getting out of a slump, and really he approached it from more of the mental game aspect, all up here, not necessarily like anything that you're going to do physically, although he talked a little bit about that as well, but it was more mentally. I'm curious if you've ever gone through a slump, and if so, how did you go about getting out of that?
I don't know if I've really ever gone through a slump, during college, at least, knock on wood. But I feel like during practice over the fall, sometimes you kind of start to go through the motions a little bit, and I'd catch myself, you kind of just show up to practice, you're doing the same thing, going to lift, but I feel like you gotta be there every time. Like you gotta be there where your feet are every time. And I feel like that's something that I focus on, just kind of like going through the warm up, like don't just catch, throw the ball back, kind of like actually, get your pace going, get behind the ball, get your hands going, and kind of like really be detailed with everything you do. I feel like that helps.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. It's so easy to drift, especially in anything of like repetition, which lacrosse goalie is. Like it's the same save movement over and over. And it's really easy to in things of repetition to develop bad habits, or just like you said, go through the motions. So I love that. Yeah, I mean, your story is so interesting because, never starting in high school, not really getting, the looks to the I don't know, call them top programs. But now, I mean, there was a list that comes out the other day, and it's like, I think it was Paul Carcaterra's list of like PLL prospects. Boom, Brendan Krebs, right? I mean, how does that make you feel to be on that list?
Yeah, I think it's cool to see the recognition. I don't think I've really ever gotten a lot of recognition before. So I feel like I'm obviously super thankful to see that, and grateful, but it doesn't really change a lot. We still have the whole season left here. We haven't even started MAC play yet. Right. But no, I think an end goal I think everybody is to play professional. I think right now NCAA is obviously the highest level competition wise. And I think the PLL has been so great to see what they've been doing. And that's obviously a new goal of mine, is to continue playing next year. And I'd obviously love to do that. But yeah, I think seeing the recognition, it's a little bit of a confidence boost, but it doesn't really change anything. I still got to do my thing and play well. And yeah.
Great attitude. So this is your final season right now.
Yeah.
And
this is it.
And you're a grad student?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So how'd that work? You got the COVID year, but you got the COVID year back, but you finished school. And so you wanted to play one more year. I'm going to do a grad.
Coach Gallagher gave me the opportunity to come back. So I'm getting my MBA this year. And I'm going to be graduating in May.
Nice, man. All right. And then on to the PLL, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right. I asked Jack wanted me to talk to Coach Runkel, wanted me to talk to you about that. I asked him if I should ask you any questions, but he also said, of all the goalies he worked with, you were the hardest to score on.
Really?
Yeah.
That's high praise.
That is high praise, because he's worked with some really good goalies, including one of the guys I sponsored, Will Mark. He's a great goalie.
He is very good. Yeah.
So, well, cool. How do you train to be a goalie? Like we're recording this March 4th. You're what, 4 or 5 games into the season. What does a week of goalie training look like for you right now?
I mean, with practice, we obviously are going 6 days a week. Lifting 2 days a week usually. Once we get the team together for 1 day a week as a full team in the weight room, and then I'm trying to get in the gym at least one other day. And then when I go out, getting shots by guys on our team, runners, step downs. But then usually, I'm not really a big fan of just getting shelled. I feel like it leads to bad habits. I feel like you kind of just start to survive in the net if guys are just, rolling the ball out and you're just getting step downs from like 10 yards. Also kind of how you get hurt. But no, I kind of like to go out, do ladder drills. Our ladder routine is good. Maybe get the bands out. Tim O'Meara's a big proponent of the bands.
Yeah.
I feel like, just going through the little things is definitely something that has helped me. Stepping through the ladder, doing that, probably jumping rope, I think is big. And then wall ball and the hand-eye drills is my biggest thing, I feel like.
Love it. It's a good mix right there. That's a Division I lacrosse goalie training program right there. Are you a big weight room guy?
Out of season, I like to be in there a lot, yeah. But right now, I feel like it's just definitely trying to stay mobile. I feel like mobility is obviously the biggest thing for being a goalie.
Yeah.
And then just maintenance, trying to stay strong through the season.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah. Any like unconventional things that you do? I mean, all the things that you mentioned, the jump rope, the wall ball, the hand-eye coordination, all great stuff. I'm curious if there were some sports you played growing up, or I don't know, any just kind of unconventional things that you've done that you feel like have made you a better lacrosse goalie.
I mean, you've definitely seen goalies work, getting shots on with tennis balls. Guys use just like a regular stick. But this fall, I ordered one of those boxing pads off of Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go out and the guys will get the bucket of tennis balls and just take like regular shots like they normally would. And I use the boxing pad on my top hand instead of my stick. And I feel like that really helps, like eyes, head, like getting all the way behind the ball, because it's obviously such a smaller area than your whole stick.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that's helped me.
Yeah, I love that. And keeping the head like, max surface area, right? Because it becomes really obvious when you turn that pad, right? And you got no surface area. And that's a huge element of being a lacrosse goalie, is just making sure you got max surface area.
Yeah, that, and also just getting behind the ball. If you miss it with your stick, you'll get a piece of it with your body.
Yeah, 100%. Is there anything that you feel like you're working on in your game right now?
Definitely low shots was something that I worked on big over the fall and over winter break with Coach Runkel. I feel like last year I kind of got in the habit of making it like a black and white thing with low saves, because you'll see a lot of guys either, catch it clean, or they'll do like the whole like punch over the top. And I feel like that's something that kind of got me in a little bit of a rut with it. But I feel like something that's helped me is kind of just making sure I get my first foot outside the ball and, stepping through it and getting all the way through it and trying to get the ball on like the middlemost piece of the mesh, I think has helped me.
Yeah. You mentioned something there about like coming over the top. I didn't quite follow that. The shooters you were talking about?
No. So like punching your hands over.
Got it.
Like getting your head into the ground and punching all the way over the ball.
Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah. It's interesting. You're, 6'3", every tall goalie, like everyone feels like they can score on them low. And vice versa. Like the short goalies, you feel like you can score on them high. And sometimes that's the case, but other times, like, it's just interesting knowing that, like, everyone thought they could score on me high. And I thought that was so
already
easy.
Up there.
I thought that was so easy. Yeah, exactly. So,
hey. Yeah. I mean, I feel like in practice, it's a lot of, shoot low. So, I mean, I've definitely worked on more, just by habit and by getting shots on during practice, it being low a lot. So I feel like the more you work on it, the better you get at it. So yeah, it's not that bad.
I will also say that with like back when I played, there was no Instagram, there was no YouTube, right? And I think kids shoot higher more now because
Yeah,
those
looks
shots
cooler.
look cooler.
Yeah,
Exactly. Right.
yeah,
I mean, let's be honest, a low to high stinging of the corner, as much as I love like a save, a low to high corner sting, it's like it's a nice looking play.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Um, are you number 28 or number 0? Or what's going on with that?
My first 4 years, I was 28, and then this year, we got new jerseys, and I had the opportunity to switch, so I took that, and I switched to 0.
Why?
Um, I don't know. Last year, we lost to Monmouth in the MAC finals. I guess it's a little bit of a mental thing, kind of just switching up the mojo,
Yeah.
trying to find something new. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. And I was looking at some maybe pics of last year. I think you had 20 diamond last year. Looks like this year you're going with 12 diamond mesh. Could you talk to us about your stick setup?
So last year, I think I got the same setup. That might have been 2 years ago.
Got it.
My freshman year, we were with Warrior. So I sent out my sticks to this guy. You might know him, Redbeard Lacrosse on Instagram. Used
Sure.
to string all of my sticks. He strings up dimes. They're really good. The 20 diamond with the Nemesis I thought was good. Really getting it out. But over quarantine during COVID, I taught myself how to string. So last year, I started using the 12 diamonds, and I just string it up myself now. We get String King at school, so that's what I use.
Nice. How did you learn how to string?
One of my roommate Justin knows how to string. He plays mini, so he kind of helped me out with it a little bit. I went over to his house for the first one, and then after that, after I kind of got familiar with it, just YouTube videos. Obviously, the first couple ones don't come out that nice, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. And like you said before, with all the social media and stuff, it makes it so easy. You could find anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I had Redbeard on the podcast. Hasn't come out yet. I think that one's going to be next or in tube. Anyway, he's an awesome guy.
Yeah, he is really good guy. He plays mostly box, but definitely thankful for him. My first 3 years, all my sticks were strung by him. He does such a good job.
Love it. Love it. And it looked like the picture I saw, it's a ghost pocket. No shooters.
No shooters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like the way I like when it hits the plastic a little bit when it comes off the top. And the String King 1X kind of stays hard enough where I pull the diamonds over on the top. So I feel like the top stays tight enough where it's sort of a lower pocket and you don't really need shooters. I kind of like to feel the ball more when it comes out.
Yeah. Love it. If you could go back and give the high school Brendan a little advice, what would that be about goalie? Let's narrow it in a little bit.
I don't know, because I feel like everything that I've done has happened. I know it's kind of cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
But I'm thankful to be at where I'm at now. I'd probably tell myself to be a little less hard on myself. I feel like, I've kind of made it, not playing a lot on me. I don't know if it was on me most of the time. You're obviously playing with really good guys, going up against really good guys. But I was pretty hard on myself, and obviously I think that helped me, but I think it was a little detrimental at some points.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're an elite competitor, I feel like you're always going to be hard on yourself, and probably to a fault, but I don't know. I'd rather err in the direction of being too hard on myself than not being
definitely
hard enough on myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. I think that is definitely something that helped me, but like you said, to a fault sometimes. It probably got a little bit over the edge. But yeah, that's something I tell myself.
For sure. When I say the phrase best game you've ever played, is there one particular game that comes to mind? If I was going to go look for Brendan Krebs tape, one game, is there a game that comes to mind?
I don't know if there is this. When I think of a best game, I think of games that that we've won, but I don't know if I've played my best.
Mm-hmm.
Going to and Brian and winning in the Dome. was pretty fun. It was kind of like a mental thing, because it was crazy with the weather, and then we had practice in there the night before. And with the colored balls, it's different. You don't really get it a lot. They obviously play in the dome a lot, but we went up there, and we stuck out a gritty win against them. That was a good game. But other than that, I think, I obviously didn't play in high school, and then freshman year I had the opportunity to start, and I kind of messed it up a little bit. So sophomore year was my first year of really starting the entire time. And it was one of our earliest games. It was against Hartford at home. I think I had like 16 or 17 saves. But it was kind of a big confidence builder for me after the game.
Yeah.
Coach never gives out a game ball or anything, but we were in the locker room or the team room after the game. And he tossed the ball to me, and that was just a big confidence boost. And I think that helped me out the rest of the season. So that game's a pretty big one for me.
Love it. Love it. What happened your freshman year?
My freshman year, I went in the second quarter, I think, where it was our first game of the season against Bryant, the senior on our team, who ended up playing unreal the rest of the season. Didn't really have a great start. So I ended up going in against Bryant, and I played a decent game the rest of the game. So then I had the opportunity to start our second game of the season. Wasn't really seeing the ball. I was probably in my head, first college start. I didn't get the opportunity to start any games the rest of the season because, our senior captain goalie got hot, who played an unreal year the rest of the year. But yeah.
Got it. What is that? Yeah, that's such a tough situation, right? Like it's everything you worked for. Like now I'm a freshman, so you don't have much experience. And then, oh man, I'm not seeing it. And every goalie's had that game. Like it's not a good feeling where you're not picking up the shots. It happened to me at Michigan. And oh man, I still remember that horrible feeling.
Yeah, that's something that I try and forget, but you just can't. It's also something you got to be fortunate of, because you're never as high as your highest highs, you're never as low as your lowest lows. That was definitely a pretty low for me, but kind of thinking about that and using that, I think, has helped me.
Yeah. When we talk about the mental game, I mean, that's kind of one of the themes that I've heard on this podcast is like, is some goalies say, don't get too high, don't get too low, kind of like an even keel. What other, when we talk about mental game and being mentally tough, what other lessons come to mind for you?
I mean, I feel like every time you go out there, you try and get in that flow state where it's just you and the ball, and you're not thinking about anything. And obviously the older you get, the more you start to think about things when you get out on the field. So I think whenever I try and play, trying to just focus on the ball, and, kind of just get in that like relaxed state, where you're not thinking about too much. Like in that game, wasn't seeing it against Wagner, my freshman year. I was obviously thinking about what could go wrong, thinking about the ball, thinking about how I'm going to save the ball. And that just ends up to you obviously not saving the ball. So I think once you kind of figure out what helps you kind of quiet the mind, and sort of settle down in the net and really just focus on the ball and get out of your own head. I think that is something that has helped me.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that like you start overthinking when you get older, but it's very easy to do as a young kid too. Like you give up a certain like 3 stick side low goals, and then you're like, I'm not good at stick side low, right? And now you're just overthinking things as opposed to seeing the ball and reacting.
Yeah.
How do you quiet the mind? How do you quiet the mind? Is it like visualization? Do you have like a specific routine that you go through after you get scored on, or what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I have a different routine. If we get a stop, the ball goes down the other way, I'll tap the pipes. But if we get scored on, I'll rattle the cage a little bit, squeeze everything out of the ball before I give it to the ref, try and just forget about the goal. That always, exactly. Yeah. That always helps me. I feel like the routine, definitely before the game too, is something that kind of helps me get going. Getting that mindset before the game, I think, is something that's definitely big. And, I kind of got a little bit too into it my sophomore year, and then obviously junior year before COVID happens. But these past 2 seasons, I've tried to, take a little bit of a step back because it got a little bit too intricate. Because then you just start thinking about the routine, and then
what is it? I was going to say, what does
everything.
that mean? We're like too intricate in the sense of like, at 10 a.m. I got to have an orange Gatorade or like
Not that crazy, but yeah, the routine kind of turns into superstitions. And as a recent, I've kind of figured out that, people use superstitions for a lack of preparation. So I feel like I've turned it more into, doing a little bit of the same thing. Taping my stick a certain way, depending on how the last game went or how I played. Stretch roll out before the game. Like sophomore year, I'd listen to the same playlist, put my left sock on before my right, like crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as of recent, I've kind of just strayed away from that because I feel like you get a little bit too heady and it gets a little bit chaotic.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. What are some songs on that playlist? Give me 1 or 2 songs that get you really pumped up.
Oh, I don't know. Well, now it's different because I feel like I try and listen to something different. But I probably stay more towards probably like an alternative rock or like a 90s rock. It's probably my biggest genre that I listen to before games.
All right, I like it. What are we talking about? Like Nirvana, Soundgarden?
No, probably like Sum 41,
Sum 41,
Blink-182, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Blink-182. Yeah, I used to listen to those guys. Love it, man. Well, cool. So, good luck in this upcoming season. Thank you so much for kind of taking the time to come on the show. I'm gonna start putting together some Manhatthan save edits.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll check it out. What for those that don't know, like what's Manhatthan like as a school?
It's a smaller school. I feel like it's definitely cooler with knowing everybody. I feel like the athletic department's pretty close, but also being in Riverdale, it's the last stop on the 1 train, so you're a 30-minute subway ride to the heart of Manhattan, which is obviously the greatest city in the world. So it's definitely a cool place to go to college. Definitely a different place to go to college. I feel like most colleges and universities, it's kind of just that in the town, and everything is centered around that college. But you're in one of the 5 boroughs in the greatest city in the world. So I think it's definitely something that I'm grateful for. It's pretty cool.
There you go. New York, baby. New York. And then how far away from home are you?
Probably like a 50-minute drive. Or if I take the train, it's like 45 minutes to Penn. And then the train to East Williston on the Long Island Railroad, it's like 45, 50 minutes.
That's not bad.
No.
That's far enough away where you don't have to worry about the pop-in visit from the folks, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. Well, cool, man. Any other stories from Manhatthan that were from the team that we should talk about?
I don't have anything for you. I would just say, make sure you keep your eye on the Jaspers this year.
Well, what's a Jasper?
Are you asking that as a joke, or are you being serious?
I'm being very serious.
Yeah. So, the original athletic director at Manhatthan was Brother Jasper, who's famously known for inventing the 7th inning stretch. So, the Jaspers are after Brother Jasper.
There you go. Go
Yeah.
Jaspers. Go Jaspers. Do you do any coaching?
I do a little bit, not probably as much as other guys you've had on the pod, though. I've helped out here and there with some family friends over the summer, but no, not really.
Got it. All good. All right, Brandon, this was tons of fun. Good luck in this upcoming year. And, we as the lacrosse goalie community will be watching you, man. Good luck in the, when the PL draft comes around, and I hope you can continue to play at the next level.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had to leave the goalies out there with a final piece of advice, what would that be?
Find the logo on the ball.
Boom. Leave it at that. Focus, baby. Find the logo
Yeah.
on the ball. Dick's Sporting Goods on this one. Just found it. Brandon, have a good one.
Thanks, you too.